Welcome back to Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. I am your host, Jake Brown, alongside my co-host, former Mets pitcher Nelson Figueroa. No Ron Darling. It's not Moose and Figgy, the new show, as you said on the broadcast today. He does have a podcast. He said it'd be a good podcast. Well, he's got one. It's with another guy who's a little chubby. It's me. All right, Moose. I was thinking of, what would he call me? Goose? Because I got like a goose neck. I couldn't think of Juice and Figgy. Jews and Figgy. I am Jewish.
There it is.
I don't know. What do I even say at this point? I mean, this team just whatever the Spanish word that I already forgot was for tease. They teased us. A 6-game win streak. It was 6 days in the West Coast. It was 6 days in Arizona, 6 days in the desert, 6 days in the desert in San Diego. And then Saturday and Sunday, the Mets reminded us that they are not a good baseball team. And listen, there are 72 games left in this season, Figgy, but time is running short for a team that is now 42-48 going into the All-Star break. We will not have a show on Thursday because I need 4 days in Flushing, 4 days in Astoria without baseball. And there's no reason to preview the Dodgers series ahead, to be honest. And we'll see the All-Star break this week. But Figgy, 2 out of 3, they lose to San Diego. All that positive mojo. Friday, too, was a great game. Good back-and-forth game. Extra innings. Mets find a way to win. You're feeling incredible. Saturday, I didn't even go out because I wanted to watch the game. I was like, I got to watch. And they're taking away from my social life. And Max Scherzer is taking $43 million and stealing it. They need a camera on the mound to watch him from stealing the money. He's stealing from Stevie. Stealing Scherzer, stealing Stevie. $43 million and ERA over 4. I'm all over the place right now because I don't know where to go with this. It's got to start with Max. He gave up 5 runs, 2 homers to Machado. Max Scherzer in big games, Figgy, for this team has continued to crumble and has been wildly disappointing in his Mets tenure. And before the trade deadline comes, you got to be fielding calls from all teams and seeing what you can get for him. Not saying you should trade him, but there's no reason that you shouldn't be answering calls and maybe selling on Max Scherzer at this point.
Yeah, and one of the biggest blows to today, of course, is Tommy Pham going out with the groin injury because as hot as he was playing and as well as he was playing, if you were in selling mode, he was a guy that you could sell to a team with playoff aspirations. Not saying that this team doesn't have playoff aspirations or that they still can't make the playoffs. They just continue to make it harder and harder on themselves. The 6 wins in a row, by no means were a fluke, but timely hitting is a huge thing. Alvarez just going off, absolutely going off. And, you know, he sparked this team. We kept saying all about the baby Mets, and that died down very quickly as they sent Vientos to the minor leagues. Beatty wound up struggling a little bit before they, sent Escobar to Anaheim. And Alvarez, of course, was relegated to bench duty because Narvaez came back and he was the starter. So once he got going a little bit and they needed that bat in the lineup, that baby Met has been, definitely a game changer for this team. And they win 6 in a row. They win 6 out of the 8 going down the stretch. So I look at the glass half full still. It's a disappointment the way that it ended. Scherzer's performances are continuing to be, instead of must-see TV, extremely lackluster. His slider has gotten annihilated all year long. And he has complained about the ball's not feeling right and everybody's struggling with sliders. They're not sliding. Then stop throwing the damn slider, dude. Stop throwing the slider in big moments. You throw a nasty changeup, a 2-pitch combination, tunneling a fastball and changeup. He's done it for years and years and years. And sometimes he forgets about that. And he wants to go to this slider, and whether it's just to show guys that he can throw a slider, but guys like Manny Machado don't miss hanging sliders. All right. That was the first home run. The second home run was a 3-0 fastball. And what did he do? He does what he always does. He doesn't want to walk anybody. So on a 3-0 count, he throws a fastball down the middle. And inexplicably, when you know this guy's free swinging, he's on time and hits another home run. So his day was ruined by 2 home runs, 5 RBIs of Manny Machado. He's got to be better than that. I expect more mentally out of him than that. I want the competitor, the guy that's out there giving his all, sweating profusely. Not the guy that every time you see a home run get hit off him, he takes off his hat and he rubs his hair and his hair is all over the place and he just looks like a mess. Like he's, hanging on and against the ropes in the 8th round of a championship fight. I need the Max Scherzer remember that Max Scherzer that was so pissed off that the Mets made the playoffs over the Nationals that he went out there and punched out, 19 or 20 against the Mets in Citi Field? That Max Scherzer. That's the guy that you thought you were getting, and
that Max Scherzer is dead and gone, like Justin Timberlake featuring T.I. He's dead and gone. He'll be 39 at the end of the month, Figgy, and I don't know anymore because the inconsistency with this guy is off the charts. He had a couple good starts. He gave up 1 run, no run, 1 run, and then it's 5, and then it's 6, and like those starts I mentioned, Figgy, that game in Atlanta last year, going to the playoffs, you can win the division, rocked. 11 hits, 5 runs. The playoff game 1, set the tone. Citi Field's rocking. 7 runs. The Yankee game, Subway Series, 6 runs. And then today, 5 runs. I mean, yes, the offense had to do more today, obviously. But 4 runs with Max Scherzer on the mound should get it done for you. 2 is probably not going to get it done. But you can't rely on these guys. And that's why it's hard to have faith when those 2 aces are not being aces. And I don't know what you can get for him. Like $43 million, you'd have to eat a lot of the money. He'll be 39 on July 27th. He's got a 4.31 ERA. What team in contention is going to take him on, take that money on, give up good prospects? Because listen, I don't want to trade him and just get some low-level prospects and eat all the money because that's robbery. The Mets are just eating money and getting low-level prospects. You got to get good players still in return. But what playoff team, Figgy, is going to give the Mets value the way he's pitching? Because that record is a farce. He does not look 8-3.
Yeah, no, that's one of the big things, right? Is that when you see a guy 8-3 and his ERA, although it's not a 5, it's a 4, and it kind of keeps bouncing back and forth depending on every other start, right?
It's a 4.3, and he's making $43 million. Coincidence much?
But listen, there's going to be a contender, and it might be in the Central, a team. I don't know, Cincinnati Reds, how they got hot. If they need a starter, you could see somebody. They have a bunch of young talent. If you pay down the contract a bunch, you might be able to get one of these talented young players away from somebody like Cincinnati, who says, you know what, we can ride this Ellie De La Cruz train. He's the most exciting thing in baseball. The guy never seems to do anything wrong. But Scherzer, has to be better. It's beyond the accountability thing, right? We talked about that all the time. I love that he's accountable. I need better than accountable. I need a guy who is sure of what he's doing out there. His conviction, his execution should be on point almost every single time. Everybody makes mistakes. I get that, but a solo shot is different than a 3-run and a 2-run home run, especially when your team isn't scoring many runs. You've got to be better.
And talk about Buzz Killington. Let's call him Buck Killington. A challenge on the first batter, 1 pitch, boom, challenge. That is complete ineptitude by your manager. First off, I still don't think it hit the net. I think Brady caught that, but whatever. You're going to kill the rhythm of a guy who's rhythm Killington. Like he no one likes to get more killed in a rhythm than Max Scherzer. You see it every time a hitter will call a timeout, how much that bugs him. One pitch in, save that challenge for later when Max might need a breather. He's at the top of his game. He's fine. He hasn't even broke a sweat. And you challenge, and then there were 2 plays later in the game, you probably could have used that challenge. I thought that was a complete lack of awareness from Buck. And Gary was surprised because he thought it'd be a crew chief review. And I agree. I feel like hitting netting should be just an automatic crew chief review. But the fact you use your challenge that early, lose it, have no challenge, already off to a bad start. And then, of course, he gets a hit out of that. Machado gets a hit. And then the home run happens. And then you're already down 3-0 first inning. And my God, I mean, it almost felt like a getaway to the All-Star break day when DJ Stewart is in the lineup ahead of Francisco Alvarez. DJ Stewart, not DJ Danny Tanner and the full house. I'd rather her in the lineup. No offense, he got a hit. but the base is loaded. That swing on a pitch that was in the dirt by Musgrove, talk about a rally killer. Is there a worse team that when they load the bases with less than 2 outs have the complete inability to put runs home? Yeah. I mean, we need to, on the next episode, next week, let's take a brain hiatus for 4 days and go to the research intern Nick and Andrew Hartz, go to the research staff and find out how many times this season they've left the base loaded with less than 2 outs and haven't scored. Because it is pathetic. Like, the approach has to change. Guys need to maybe choke up a little bit. I'll joke and say, but I'm serious that you need a bunt. Start bunting with bases loaded. Starling Marte could have done that the other night when he grounded to yet another double play. My God, how is there no D and P in Starling Marte? Find out his middle name and see if there's a D and a P in it. But it is just unbelievable how bad they are in clutch situations, Figgy. And it killed them again. I mean, 3-0, base loaded, 1 out. And Stewart, I mean, the fact that he's up is just insane. In a game you really need to win going to the break to get some mojo. And you have Stewart and Guillorme in the lineup. I am so freaking sick of Luis Guillorme in the lineup. I'm sorry. You want to talk about a guy who's defensive specialist? He's been terrible defensively. He made errors the other night. I mean, he is stunk in the field, and he's not good at the plate. Stop with the Luis Guillorme experience. I'm sick and tired of this guy continuing to start 3 times a week. Enough is enough, Biggie.
Yeah, you sound like you're a little heated. This isn't a rant, but I guess you're wanting more from the names that are supposed to give more, and you don't want to see more of the guys who are less thans, right?
Well, Tommy Pham is about to probably go to the IL. He thinks it's a 10 to 14 day injury. We'll know more Monday after people hear this. If he goes to the IL and Ronnie Mauricio is still not here, and if Danny Mendick is on this roster, I will do an emergency show on Thursday. I will do an emergency podcast, and the whole 30 minutes, I will just scream Mendick for 30 minutes on loop, and you can fall asleep listening to that. Ronnie Mauricio has to be here if Pham goes to the IL. He should be here now anyway. But enough with these fringe roster players. You have 15 games left till the trade deadline. 15. You go 11-4, that gets you over 500 back in the race. Stop with these fringe guys, and let's see what you got with the kids. Because Alvarez, like you said, you've seen the spark he's provided. Beatty, not as much. Beatty has been underwhelming. But let's see Mauricio for 15 games before the trade deadline and see if they could, make a decision based off that. Who would have thought I'd be clamoring today for Vogelbach? I'd rather Vogelbach than Stewart in there. Vogelbach's been hitting. The one time you sit him, you put Stewart in. Come on, Buck.
So now that we've gotten that out the way, I went and did some quick research to take the pressure off our boys. Nobody out, bases loaded on the season. Before today's game, the team was batting .071. They've had 15 plate appearances, doing it. 1 walk, of course, so that means 14 at bats. They've only gotten
14, right?
1 hit. Yeah, and it was a grand slam. 1 hit. It was a grand slam. That's
Alonso,
all they've done. So that was bases loaded, nobody out, .071. Bases loaded with 1 out, .214 they're batting. Again, 1 home run, 6 hits total on the season with bases loaded with 1 out. Bases loaded in 2 outs, .333.
These guys.
They come through in the clutch with the .333 batting average, but it's getting to those 2 outs where you get those big moments that kills a rally. We've seen it time and time again. Those 2 guys strike out with bases loaded when you think, oh my God, this is the inning. We score at least 2 and left and deflated. It's a problem. It's a big problem. And what that leads to is our next thing, right? If Buck isn't going to go, and he's got the blessing already from the ownership, and Epler's not going to go, then is something going to change?
Well, listen, the Yankees just fired their hitting coach. So your options, if you're going to do that, unless you really want to go in left field and fire the bullpen coach, which would just be release Danny Raccanello, the bullpen catcher. Do you fire Eric Chavez for some lack of offense, or do you fire Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach, who the Mets love? But Hart's brought this up, and it is interesting. Their first innings have been terrible all year long, and that's another stat. Let's see if we could get Nick or Hart's get the first inning stat. Their first innings have been terrible, and it happened again. I don't know. I mean, you blame it on the pitchers, but Billy Epler had brought up about we're working with our guys on pitch sequencing and whatever big words he used. I haven't seen much of a difference. Yeah, the starters look good in the 6-game win streak. They were better, although Scherzer still gave up 4 runs in one of those wins. But the starting pitching has been underwhelming. And I don't know if firing Jeremy Hefner will make a huge difference, as the Mets have been outscored 65-26 in the first inning this season. That's a telltale sign of a team 6 games under 500. I don't know if that's going to make a difference, but like you said, if Buck's not going, if Chavez isn't the guy, is Hefner the guy? The question is, do you have an in-house guy you'll put in that spot to replace him? And do you want to make that kind of shift here with 72 games left? What do you think? Are you on team fire one of those guys, or do you just ride it out?
I think you're going to have to ride it out all the way around. They'll make changes in the offseason. Hafner, they like a lot. He has done some good things. There's other things that are lackluster that we've seen. First inning is usually about preparation before the game, how you warm up, how you prepare, how you're ready to execute your game plan, and what happens if you get punched in the mouth early. How do you make sure that you give up minimum damage? You try to give up a no crooked number, so a 1, and you can handle that. Let's bounce back from giving up 1 run, but you can't give up 3 runs every time and put the offense now on its heels, having to do all the work. First inning, the worst ERA by far, 5.66 on the season. Innings 1
it's
through
like
3.
Every starter became Cookie. It's all starters are like Cookie in the first inning, and you can't win that way.
Yeah, innings 1 through 3, 4.79. Innings 4 through 6, 4.67. Innings 7 through 9, 3.49. The 3.49, of course, is what we thought they would be more like top to bottom, especially top, where you had the 2 aces and the other guys coming back or coming in. The only real bright spot for the starting rotation is a guy that you've had to kind of move mountains for, to make sure he gets his rest and gets his time needed in between starts, but it's been Kodai Senga. And, he winds up making the all-star team. So that's, again, one of the good things. He makes the all-star team. I think he's been as advertised, other than this, where they had to make a decision about giving him the 6 days off from the beginning, and they never really did it or considered it until now. And it's palpable. You see it when he's out there. You see when he's on less than 5 days rest. It almost looks like he's going through the motions. His stuff doesn't have good life. He's not throwing the ball hard. This last start that we saw from him, he was letting the ball go with everything he had. He hit 99 after pitch 99.
He's been the ace. I mean, Scherzer's 4.31 and Verlander's 3.6. Senga's 3.33. I mean, Kodai Senga has been the Mets ace, deserves an all-star spot. And the rest thing, 3.31 his ERA is the rest thing is annoying, but he's been the Mets ace this season, so you can't complain about his first half.
No, he's been fantastic, and I think he's learned. He's made adjustments. He's worked on this cutter, using it a lot more. The ghost forkball, of course, when it's on, is unhittable. The velocity is there when he needs to reach back and get a little bit more, and he knows how to pitch. So he's been a pleasant, not say surprise, but the expectations were very, very high, and of course, when you have high expectations, you usually have disappointments. I think we're learning that this season. And during the streak of 6 wins in a row and throughout, so to finish out those last 8 games, Verlander had 2 starts. He pitched to a 1.38, so that's what you were kind of expecting for Verlander. Kodai Senga had the 1 start, 1.13. Carrasco has been much, much better as of lately, and he has changed his grip on his slider, and he credits Instagram with Pablo Lopez, showing how he throws his slider, and he started using it a little bit more, and it's helped him. Peterson has been really, really good since coming back up to the big leagues. The worst guy on the team, of course, it was Jeff Brigham. He only got to pitch a third of an inning. Max Scherzer's out of 6 in his 1 start going into today. So I think you look at while they were streaking and you felt really good about this team, the starters were going deep. You didn't have to see much of the lesser thans, and then you got the ball to Ottavino and Robertson. Those guys, again, this break comes at the right time for them. They had a much needed rest and recharge. Now, is it if the Mets had finished, say they won 8 in a row, and the break comes anyway, it kills your momentum, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say if they had won even Sunday, if they 7 out of 8, you would be like, I don't want to break right now. I want to keep going.
So you're gonna lose a little bit of the momentum, right? You come back from that, and now you're put in that position of, can we really make a run at this? Do we sell or do we buy? And I think the closer you got to 500, which is still attainable, the closer you get to 500, the more you think they would buy, because you're still just a couple of winning streaks away from really putting the push and getting into it wholeheartedly. So I think they still will be buyers if this team can get to 500 and come back like they did in the beginning of July and continue that, where they were doing 2 of the 3 things right that win ball games. We saw some sloppy play too. Like even Lindor wasn't as sure-handed on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday today, you look around and the game got away from them, and like you said, it seemed like a getaway day, and it was, where they kind of mailed it in. Disappointingly, you wanted to see them, of course, go 7-1. They didn't, but I think there's still good vibes around, other than for Jake Brown and him wanting to sell Max Scherzer for was it Dunkaroos?
Well, Dunkaroos are more easily attainable now. At the time, they were rare when I did say that a couple of years ago about Diaz, and I've apologized for saying that. But listen, I think you have to get value. If you're going to get mid-level guys, I'm not going to do it. The issue, like, I don't know. You have to answer calls, and that'll be if they're sellers. Like he said if Steve decides to sell, we'll talk then. For now, it's clickbait. Well, every game, I have to pitch better. Pitch better. Stop stinking in big moments. Atlanta, playoffs, Subway Series, if you want to consider that a big moment. Listen, it's a sellout crowd. It's big here. It's a big game. That's 3. And today, going into the break, I mean, DJ Stewart, he's a career 213 hitter all of his years in Baltimore. Wonder where the relationship was. What the buck is what I have to say about what we just witnessed in the first half. For a team that hadn't lost its 40th game till late August in 2022, who are these Mets? They've had 11 total days that reeled us in. The 5 days in Flushing in May and the 6 West Coast days in June, mixed with 2 at Citi Field. Or it's July, excuse me.
July, yeah, not June. Let's not talk about June.
June is why I've been on the toilet a lot lately. I think it's because of the month of June. Maybe it's the Chipotle, but it's 6 in July, 5 in May. That's all we've had. We've had 11th heaven, and there's no Jessica Biel. It's just 11th heaven. That's it. What was the show? 7th heaven.
7th heaven. Yeah.
No, we didn't get 7th heaven Saturday with the 7th win in a row, unfortunately. But there's been 11 days that have made us feel like the 2022 Mets. Outside of that. And I said this on SNY Head. I said I give him a D. I give him a D because you're getting some good stuff from Alvarez, from the youth a little bit. You're seeing good stuff from Senga, from Robertson. But, I didn't go total F. But this first half is a D, Figgy. What's your grade here for the 2023 Mets in the first half?
Mine is a C-. I think there's a couple of guys who have stepped it up. Francisco Lindor, over the past month nearly since his daughter's been born, has been a much better hitter, especially from the left side. It was disgusting what he was doing from the left side. The right side was carrying him with any kind of batting average, and he was showed power numbers, and he showed production with RBIs. Kind of surprising that he wasn't even thought of for replacing Dansby Swanson.
I'd rather not just get all. I'm already mad that Sang is going because it's going to affect them pitching against the Dodgers because they're going to say, "Oh, he pitched an inning on Tuesday. Let's give him an extra 5 days."
I think he's going to do it like bullpen style. That's what we normally do. But we seen him do it during the season. He kind of not going to go all the way. But it's an All-Star game, so maybe he airs it out. We'll see. It's 1 inning. It might be 1 batter. They might do it that way so that they don't overextend them. But looking up and down the lineup, some guys starting to wake up, some guys starting to hit better during the streak. You got Mark Canha batting 300, Francisco Lindor 393, Alvarez 423 with 5 home runs, 9 RBIs, just really going to town. And Pete Alonso, there's definitely something going on with Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso is starting to look, and you hear fans say this, and you hear this. He's becoming more and more like Dave Kingman. You can't bat 215 and be an all-star. Oh wait, you can, because of the power number, the home run numbers that he's putting up. I get it, but this isn't the kind of hitter that we thought we had all season long, right? And in the beginning of the season, we're like, man, he's going to be that 270 hitter that we like, hitting balls the other way, coming through in the clutch. And we're seeing less and less of that. Yes, he's hitting home runs. Yes, he's driving in runs. But man, I can't put my finger on it. He batted 160 during that stretch. He had the 2 home runs and 6 RBIs, but
he's 147 since June 18th, since when he returned from that injury, which we still think he probably came back too soon. I forget if it was Ron or someone else, but they said maybe the Derby will wake him up. Might have been Eduardo. I forgot who said it on a broadcast. Mm-hmm. But they said, do you think that's a possibility? Like, will the Derby wake up his swing with being in the All-Star game? Because I just think he's mentally taxed, and I'd rather him sit the 4 days. But obviously, the problem is the Derby's been Pete's World Series. Like, it's almost like that's his big moment, and then the Mets will be golfing in October. Like, that's what I'm worried about. But let's hope this springboards him. Is there a shot that maybe hitting 25 homers against his middle school pitching coach or whoever the hell's throwing him will help him?
Listen, what if his middle school coach punches him out and gets him out and puts him in a slump? Then what do we do? No, I think this is what Pete lives for. Big moments and having a chance to do this, representing the Mets in their All-Star game as well. I think he's going to, can it do it? It's a home run derby, bro. But at the same time, it's a chance for him to kind of, stick his chest out and show who he is and what he's capable of doing to people out in Seattle. I just think seeing how he's looked and not looking 100% himself, I get it. The guy is going to go out there at 70, 80%. But we're not seeing the best of him. Home run derby doesn't matter when it comes to that, because he's going to be taking nice, easy swings and he's got enough power to hit it out. So I think just being there, I think the ambiance, you come back and you gain a little bit. You like talking to some of the other players, you like getting some insight from some of the veteran guys around. So the whole experience is very, very cool. Hopefully he comes back again rejuvenated. You think there's a day off that he'll get after the All-Star game, and then let's hit the second half running. But I think more than anything, this team has a little bit more confidence because you try to look at the silver lining, right? We haven't had a silver lining in all of June. What was our silver lining in June? So July, at least you can say, hey, you know what? They figured a few things out. Like I think, what was Scherzer's quote? Remember that? You run the bases right, you pitch well, you hit well, and you win ball games. It's very simple. It's a simple formula. So maybe not overthinking it, going out there and not worrying about what the other team's record is, because and that night it's 0-0 until you get done with them. You talked about playing against teams over 500. Yeah, well, so what? You got to go out there and win every single ball game, or have that mindset. I don't care what the team's record is coming in there. I used to say it all the time. I pitch against guys, and if their ERA was like over a 5, if it was a 5.71, this guy's pitching like he's got a 1.75 ERA tonight. I know it. I just know it in my heart of hearts. So I got to be on my game. This guy's not going to be giving it up. This guy's not, for some reason, maybe they overlook him. We're going to just go out there and tag this guy all day long, and all of a sudden he's in the 5th inning with a 1-hitter. So you can't. That's the beauty of baseball, man. Just when you think you got it figured out, you don't. And so I think the second half comes at a time, where I'm almost better for me that they didn't just have that winning streak all the way out, and that they, realize they're not as good as they thought they were. You know what I'm saying? And so they can, go back to work and realize, look, we got to continue to play and do things right to win ball games. And Alvarez has a chance, to break records, rookie catcher records, all those different things, which is fantastic. But at the same time, we got to watch out with him with, the showboating, the running bases backwards, the doing cartwheels as he's running the bases. That's got to get, tampered down, and or else you're going to see more and more guys getting hit.
Did I hear some profanity there? He was fired up about showboating. That's Nelson Figueroa.
It's just I get it. It's big.
Well, it is because listen, he got hit again. So it's like to add insult to injury. The end of the game, ninth inning. I know that one wasn't intentional, but like I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We're gonna go into the All-Star break losing the guy who's been carrying the team in a meaningless inning in a 6-2 game. You have to be joking. Thank God he wasn't hurt though. But I understand. Like he's young, and I think he'll learn. But maybe less of the, Jimmy Pearsall was the guy who ran. My uncle, every time I see him, he tells me this. I'm like, you told me this 50 times that Jimmy Pearsall ran the bases backwards on a home run back in his day. Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa, Amazin But True podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Amazin But True, at Jake Brown Radio, at Figgy NY. Andrew Hartz and Nick Guzman are with us as we say goodnight to the first half of the season, and looking ahead to the second half. The Mets will play the Dodgers next weekend, Friday through Sunday at Citi Field. And man, if they had won Sunday, I thought there would have been a little more juice next weekend. 7 out of 8. You're 6.5 out. Things are somewhat interesting here. I think you would have been 6 out, or 6.5 actually. I don't know. Whatever. You would have been 6 or 6.5 out. Big weekend. And then the White Sox come to town, winnable games. They get the Mets basketball jersey night. Here it is. You got 72 games left. 28 against teams below 500. You got to just win. It doesn't matter who you're playing at this point. No. You're playing a lot of good teams. There's a couple things you need to do. 1, pitch better, do better, win. Yes. 2, call Ronnie Mauricio up this week. Start the second half with a youth exuberance. Going into Friday, that'll also sell you a few tickets. You're going to have Los Angeles Dodger fans take over the building at Citi Field. You know that. Call Mauricio up, start the second half, see the next 15 games before that trade deadline, what you have in this kid. Because if he's not a piece that's getting traded, see what you got. Stop playing DJ Stewart. Stop playing these guys. Unfortunately, Stewart's going to stay here now because if Tommy Pham ends up on the IL, we'll see what the extent of the Pham is injury. So let's see Mauricio up here. And just fix your approach. There are so many balls out of the strike zone this team was swinging at. It looks like an entirely different offense than last year that was consistently working 3-2, 3-1, 3-0. They had 3 balls on a lot of guys. And this year, it feels there's an extra testicle on a lot of guys. This year, it feels like they're down 0-2, 1-2, and every pitch is out of the zone. It's the Starling Marte approach, swinging everything. The approach has got to change. And I don't know if that's firing a coach, but that has to change here in the second half. We have to, because there's no question, Figgy, that the talent is there. McNeil's a batting champion. Alonso's an all-star. Marte's an all-star. Nimmo's an all. Like, these are great players who are just not playing great. So it's easy to just say play better, but I think the approach has to change. And maybe this mental 4-day break here for the team will do that. But it ain't going to be easy. You got 15 games after this before the deadline. 3 Dodgers, 3 White Sox, 3 Red Sox, 2 Yankees, and then 4 Nationals. And then it's the deadline. So August 1st, when you have a series in Kansas City against the Royals, it's either going to look like a whole different Mets team, or maybe it's an improved team, a team over 500 that's going for it. We'll close it out with this. Going to the second half, what needs to change? And do you have hope here, Figgy, that things will change and that this team could go on this dramatic 30-for-30 ESPN Mets playoff run?
Yeah, again, I love when things are hard in the beginning of the season and you have to go through the ups and downs and you have to figure out what you have, because it's not supposed to be that easy. Listen, if you're the Braves and you're clicking on all cylinders and you're 50 games above 500, yeah, that's got to be fun, right? But at some point, you got to face adversity. And would you rather face adversity in that first round of the playoffs and all of a sudden you get ousted? And we saw that last year, right, with 2 teams that played so well, get in, and then they were ousted before they even knew it. That's something that's very disappointing. The Yankees are, those guys as well. They hit for home runs. They lead the league in home runs, and they get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, if they're not hitting home runs, they can't win ball games. So those are the kinds of things that the storylines that you always see. And with the Mets, there was a lot of expectations on them, right? From the very beginning, World Series or bust, money's no object, all those different things. But I'm on record. I said, I told you guys, heed my warning. I've seen this before. Billy Epler has had an open checkbook before. He was in Anaheim for 5 years, and they won nothing with two of the best players on the planet. Past that, name anybody that has put on an Angels uniform that was a starting pitcher, reliever, closer that you know of or heard of, or were like, wow, this guy really developed under their system. Never seen it. So now when you hear them talking about, oh, we're working on pitch design mid-season, we're working on changing people's mechanics for a guy like Justin Verlander, who's had his pitching mechanics since he was 18 years old. There's no way that you can continue to do this. And I get it. You want to create more spin rate. You want to do all these wonderful things. You have to play the game and focus on the game. Getting a guy out. I used to laugh. I would rather throw a 1-pitch ground ball sinker than a 7-pitch strikeout, right? But that's not today's game. Today's game is I got to punch everybody out because I know I'm going to be out of the game regardless in 5 innings. So I'm going to get to 100 pitches, damn it. But I'm going to get my 7-8 strikeouts. I need to see more of the pitch to contact, go deeper into ball games, give the ball from the starters that are getting paid those bucks to the relievers that are supposed to lock the game down. Those back three of Raley, Ottavino, and Robertson. Again, if you're going to be a contender, if you're going to buy, you need another arm. You need somebody else that's going to be able to help finish out games. As far as the hitters, they've come around in this little stretch. I need to see more of this. I need to see more of the hitting of Francisco Lindor. I need Beatty to continue his development. I need McNeil to hit more like a batting champion. Marte to not look so lost sometimes, and Nimmo to be that guy that gets on almost nonstop. On base percentage was his thing, and he's got to be better. Everybody's got to be a little bit. I think that's our rally cry for the second half. Is that the Wakanda?
What remains?
Did you break the Wakanda?
It just came off. Just, don't make our lives miserable this summer. Like, I'm going to enjoy this 4-day break and then resume normal depression on Friday when the Mets return home and find myself like The Walking Dead, just strolling in a City Field on Friday, getting a vodka soda, splash of cran, maybe finding a lobster roll.
Finding one, huh?
And watching this team depress me. But make it a fun summer. Make it fun. Do it for the kids. The kids are off from school, Mets. You really going to go down without a fight? Show me what you did in those 6 days. Those are the Mets we know and love. Our mental health was never better than those 6 days and those 5 days in May. Those were 11 of the greatest days of the year, in my opinion. But we need more than 11 days. In fact, we need a lot more than 11 days. We need this team to get to probably 88 wins. That's going to take a 46-26 second half to put you in the running.
Doable.
Do you have it in you or do you not? Now's the time to show your cojones. And Buck, now's your time to show you're a good manager. Because so far this season, you've sucked. We'll close out this episode of Amazin But True next. All right, Figgy. Jose Quintana will also be back as well. We didn't mention after the All-Star break, and people want to tweet me about his rehab stats. Who cares? He just make sure he gets the pitches, and let's see what he's got. David Peterson wasn't terrible Saturday, but Quintana's going to replace him. I wouldn't go with a 6-man rotation. Like, you got to have your best starters out there. And if Quintana sucks, then Peterson replace him. You got to give Quintana a shot. You gave this guy a 2-year, $26 million. We got to see what you have in this guy. He's coming off his best year of his career, sub-3 ERA. He would be the Mets ace with his numbers from last year. So don't worry about what exact stats he put up in rehab outings. Just worry about the pitches that he got there. He made through 4 innings, 5 innings, and let's see what you got in him. So he'll be back at some point. I would assume in that White Sox series. I don't think he'll pitch in the Dodgers series. Probably the White Sox series. He'll throw a simulated game, and then he'll be back at some point, make his debut. That closes up shop here. And there won't be an episode Thursday, but that closes episode 161 of Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post.
I'd like to give a shout out and a thank you to Nick Guzman and Andrew Hartz for producing the show, not to Jake because he didn't produce the show. You got way too much help, bro. You got 2 guys that help you.
He got two. Jeremy.
Make sure you stop, look, and listen. Sign up for the Amazing But True podcast, because since you're listening to it, you should sign up for it.
Sign up. What is this? A newsletter? Signing up?
Subscribe, like, comment. Not Stitcher though. Stitcher's gone, right?
How has it been 4 years? Like I go to bed having nightmares. To subscribe to Amazin But True on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you get podcasts. Give us a 5.
That's all you got to say is wherever you get your podcast from. And they're already listening
to
the New York listening to this
YouTube page. All that Amazin But True playlist. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and tell us how you're feeling about the Mets right now. Pretty crappy about the New York Mets right now. Let us know in the comments. That's all at the top. See? I'm a crazy man. I'm a deranged man.
You are. You need some help, bro.
That'll be added to the soundboard. I'm sure. I did get a Matty Petty today. I will get a massage this week. I am full on spa Jake week without Mets.
Mental health Jake.
Mental health week. Mental health. I'm trying to 24 times 4, 20, 40, 60, 80, 84, 88, 92, 96 hours of mental health. 96 hours. Don't think about the Mets this week. After you listen and watch the show, which you should do that first before you stop thinking about them. Watch, listen, do both. Shout out to my buddy Summer. She texted me that she was watching while having it on Apple, so she was multitasking. That's the click listenership and watchership that we like to see. So do both. Do it just for fun. You could mute one if you want, but they are different. The video form, you get a lot longer and more ridiculous things than you do on the audio. So check both of those out. We will not be here Thursday. Again, we're taking the break, and then we'll be back next Monday after the series against the Dodgers. So we hope you enjoy Pete Alonso in the Home Run Derby. To be honest, I might not even watch it. We hope you enjoy the All-Star game with Senga and Alonso. To be honest, I might not watch it. And enjoy the break. And, go out, touch some grass. Go out, have a drink. Go out on a date. Go take your loved one to a nice steak dinner. Go see a movie. Go see a Broadway show. Go enjoy what the greatest city in the world has to offer. Go do it up. Go watch Figgy on Pix 11 at 7 p.m. weekdays with Mark Malusis, Moose and Figgy, Ron Darling's Dream Podcast. Go watch that. But just avoid thinking about the Mets. And thanks, everybody, for supporting the Amazin But True podcast this first half. We hope you join us for the second half. If you don't, we understand. But let's hope they turn it around and hope you are part of the show. And go into the second half. We'll close it like we always do because, boy, they need 45-plus wins, and they need it now with a 3-2-1. Let's go.
Let's go, Mets.
This team sucks. Enjoy this. All-Star break, you losers.